Now, what that also means is that from moment to moment, as a consequence of the varied goals that you're pursuing, you also make a determination of what you have to attend to and what you can ignore. And the answer to the question, what should you attend to and what can you ignore, is you should attend to the minimal number of entities necessary for you to produce the outcome that you desire. Okay, now, if you read classic cybernetic accounts of motivation, the ones that are cognitive, if you look at the behavioral theories of motivation, they're mostly drive motivations. So there's a deterministic element to them. You're in a state of deprivation, and as a consequence you're driven down a certain behavioral road. Okay, so that's the behavioral idea, and there's some truth in that because some of your biological subsystems are fast and ancient enough so they do kind of operate as chain deterministic systems. And in fact, before you act in any complex way, you actually set up a system of chained deterministic events so that you can implement the action. So I can show you an example of that. So, alright, so you'll watch what my arm does. Okay, so you see that I accelerated it very rapidly, and then just before I hit the surface I stopped it. Now it turns out that I can move my hand so fast that a new signal from my brain can't get to my hand during the time I'm going like this. And so what that means is that I have to set that entire system of operations up as a ballistic movement and then release it. And you're doing that all the time when you're dealing with the world. You have systems that are automated and that run in a deterministic manner, and what you're doing in part when you act on the world is you're disinhibiting them one after the other. So you do that when you're driving, for example. Where do you look when you're driving? You don't look right in front of the car. Why? That's because you're going to run over what's there. So what good is looking there? If it's something's there, you're going to run over it. There isn't a thing you can do. So what you do is you look far enough down the road so that you can sequence automated actions as a consequence of your perception. And then they run, in some sense, they run ballistically. You can't control them once they've been implemented. And you're doing that all the time. Like you're wandering around on a platform of semi-automated systems. And your choice, in some sense, is the choice of which of those semi-automated systems you're going to implement at any given time. Okay, so you throw up a frame of reference. We're going to talk more about them in a minute. You throw up a frame of reference, and then you attend to anything that gets in the way if it interferes with the desired outcome. So that's not the same as merely responding to anything unexpected, as you can see with the gorilla. Now, if that gorilla would have jumped in front of one of the players in white and grabbed the ball, there's a high probability that you would have seen them, especially if it would have held on to it for some length of time. Because what happened there was that the anomalous event turned out to be a relevant factor in your pursuit of the goal that you deemed appropriate. So you could say that you respond to the world as if it's a predictable place, as long as it's doing what you want it to do, and then you respond to the world as an unpredictable place when anything happens that stops you from reaching the goal that you've determined to be relevant at this point in time. And so those are, in some sense, your two modes of operation. Then you could also add that if you're pursuing a goal, or embodying a little goal-directed personality, then things that facilitate movement towards that goal are going to be positive, and things that interfere with movement towards that goal are going to be negative. And when you understand that, then you've got some sense of how the fundamental emotional systems work. So, alright, so